Joy Behar and Meghan McCain got into a little disagreement on The View over socialism. Now, this clip is about 3.5 minutes long, and it is incredible, and I have a lot to say about it. Watch.
We were talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and she's one of the reasons that what is now being called democratic socialists are rising stars in the party. But I'm a little concerned about that because this was my problem with Bernie Sanders. If you're a socialist, tell me that. Don't say that you're a Democrat because you clearly we don't have the same ideas of what should be happening if you're a Democrat. So I wonder if this is now a splinter group. If anybody's discussed the difference between socialism and democratic
socialism. I don't know. Isn't it more like, isn't democratic socialism very close to liberalism? I mean,
no.
Well, think about it for a second. Medicare, Social Security, garbage collection, the post office, the library.
I agree with you.
That's all
I agree with you because we had her on the show, and I asked her this question about what do you mean by being a democratic socialist? And she platform. She says Medicare for all.
Good.
Fully funded public schools and universities.
Love it.
Paid family and sick leave.
Good.
Justice system reform, immigration justice, infrastructural overhaul, clean campaign finance, an economy of peace, housing as a human right.
Well,
I don't know.
It's a really successful country.
Can I please push back on
wrong with that?
This makes my head explode, which, by the way, I hope Democrats do run a democratic socialist.
Do you hope that we win? Do you want the Democrats
no, because I think you'll lose spectacularly, and then I will look forward to election night when I finally get to tell everybody I told you so if you end up running a radical. Problem with socialism, in the words of Margaret Thatcher, at a certain point you run out of spending other people's money. Venezuela, one of the now, the average Venezuelan has lost 24 pounds because they're starving to death. 90% of the country is living in poverty.
I think she's talking more about Scandinavia than Venezuela.
I'm sorry. This is what I need from her. Name one country that socialism has ever worked, and also every democratic socialist who is going on TV saying that it's good needs to start paying 90% in taxes.
Iceland.
On your tax form. No, on your tax form, I think you should start paying the amount of taxes that every socialist in this country thinks you need to. Because if you think the government is so good at spending money, look at the VA.
No,
because it is dangerous.
I just told you several countries that do it.
I'm sorry.
Hold on a minute.
Hold on, everybody, God bless you all.
I hate that bell.
Hold on. I know you hate the bell. Then everybody stop talking over each other, and I won't hit the bell.
With a population of 300,000 people, in no way can be related in any way comparably to the United States of America. I'm sorry. If you think it's good, then you need to be paying the amount of taxes that in socialistic countries.
Let her get her thing and go ahead.
Because it's petrifying to me that this is being normalized.
All right, go ahead.
Hey, so you're saying you run out of people's money, other people's money, Margaret Thatcher.
I didn't say that.
They have just given this enormous tax break to the wealthy in this country. That tax break doesn't have to be so generous to those really rich people, does it? Because if you don't give that money to them, what happens to that money? Better schools, better post office, better garbage pickup, better police departments, better fire departments.
If you think the government is so good at running things, then the post office is a great run business. The VA, I'm sorry, comparing the United States of America to a small country in Europe is delusional. And I'm sorry, some of us do not want socialism to be normalized in this country.
I am an example. Wait, can I finish one thing?
70% of taxes. 70%.
All right. So where do I start here? I don't think I even have points for every piece of that clip because there's just too much. But let me try to break it down from beginning to end here. So Whoopi Goldberg, first of all, look, Whoopi, I like you. I know you're not watching, but I like you. But you have to at least attempt to educate yourself on what democratic socialism is supposed to mean. So democratic socialism is not supposed to be Democrat, as in the Democratic Party socialism. It means democracy. So democracy and socialism. Now, even then, the term democratic socialism isn't exactly correct. The term should actually be social democracy. So democratic socialism, the actual term, that actual term means socialism, but in the form of a democracy. Now, social democracy, which is what Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez vouch for, even though they call themselves democratic socialists, Social democracy is more like what Joy Behar was discussing, which is the Scandinavian countries. So there is some confusion around the terms, but essentially, just to correct Whoopi Goldberg, democratic socialism is not referring to the Democratic Party socialism. It's referring to democracy socialism. Now, on to some of the other things here. So I haven't even got to the good stuff. And by the way, I should also mention, the reason why people use the phrase democratic socialism is to separate it from authoritarian socialism. So it's to clearly separate it from how socialism has been viewed in the past. Now, let me try to move on. So, okay, I don't know. I'm going to be all over the place here because Meghan McCain was also all over the place, but Jesus. Okay, so she brings up Venezuela. Of course, Venezuela. She's like, name me any other country where socialism has worked. And then Joy Behar lists off the Scandinavian countries. And maybe my favorite part of that whole clip is Meghan McCain then goes, well, you can't expect to, you shouldn't compare the US to a small country in Europe. You just compared the US to Venezuela. So, how the F is that any different than Joy Behar comparing the US to a tiny country in Europe? It's not different. So, when she's put into a corner on Venezuela, she has no idea what to do because the Venezuela attack argument is complete bullshit. Venezuela has essentially turned into a dictatorship. So, yes, there are different ways of enacting socialist policies. So, in the Scandinavian countries, they are social democracies. They are clearly different from Venezuela. So, the Scandinavian countries consistently poll as the happiest countries on earth. That should tell you something. And it's clearly not Venezuela. So, yes, there are different ways of doing things. If you want a more authoritarian socialism, then yes, Venezuela. But that is not the socialism that Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are talking about. So, Jesus, what else here? This point that I love so much. Meghan McCain brings up, you think the government is so good at running things? Look at the VA. Look at the post office. The issue with the VA is not enough money is being put into it. That's the problem. It's not that the government is spending so much money and then they can't run the VA correctly. It's that there isn't enough money being put into these programs. So when you put more money into these programs and maybe cut money to, say, I don't know, the military, where the U.S. already spends more than the next 9 countries combined, then maybe you get a little closer to a country that actually represents or actually pushes policies that is in the better interest of the vast majority of people in the country. So Joy Behar here actually was fantastic. She pushed back on all of Meghan McCain's ridiculous arguments, and also brought up, as I mentioned here, the tax break to the rich and large corporations, which has resulted in lower wages. Since that tax cut, Americans are now making 1.8% lower than they did before. This tax cut has resulted in record stock buybacks, which only enriches the rich. So this whole it's so I have a problem with really stupid people on television who are the kids of somebody famous. Meghan McCain only has this spot on The View because of her dad. She has no talent. She is fairly uneducated. There is absolutely no reason for anyone to know who Meghan McCain is, except for the fact that her dad is John McCain. That's the only reason anybody knows who she is. So she has benefited from this system, and she doesn't even realize it. Okay, did I hit everything here? I think this is mostly what I got. Oh, I guess just to end on, Meghan McCain says, I hope the Democrats put up a radical, then I'll get to say I told you so. Oh my God. I cannot wait. I want to savor this clip, put it away nicely in a little box somewhere, set the date to 2020, And when the election happens, and hopefully a radical like Bernie Sanders runs against Donald Trump, we will see what happens. So that's all I have to say. Meghan McCain doesn't know what the fuck is going on and has no interest in educating herself.